Well, hey ManCavians, this is Bob for DaBob's N-Scale ManCave. And have you ever wondered what it would take to put DCC and sound into a ScaleTrains -9 locomotive with ESU lock sound? I'm going to show you how. Let's go take a look. Okay, things you're going to need. Obviously you're going to need a -9 locomotive in this case. You're also going to need an ESU lock sound decoder, lock sound 5 DCC micro with a next 18 plug. What I did was I ordered this right from ScaleTrains and had them program it for me for the -9. And the main reason I did that is because I don't have a lock sound decoder programmer kind of device, and I wasn't about to spend a bunch of money just to do one of these. In this case, I had them pre-program it for me, so everything is set up to factory settings for this locomotive. Also, you're going to need a speaker. Now, you can buy the lock sound decoder and the speaker combination anywhere for the same price as you can get it at ScaleTrains. However, at those locations they're not going to program your DCC decoder for you. You're also going to need a soldering iron, some flux, and some solder. You may even need a little razor knife. Strip some wires off the speaker, but they pretty much come with them already stripped, and it looks like already tinned as well. So I may not need that. I may need it, you know, who knows? It's an extra tool. Some of the things you're probably also going to need are a screwdriver. Now it's best to pick the right kind of screwdriver because these things are really small. This big number 2 screwdriver is not going to work. This number 1 is not going to work. This one might work, but I still think it's a little bit too big. These 3 will work. They're small enough to get those small screws out. The smallest one, however, probably the best one to get those really small screws out. One thing you're also going to need probably is a cradle. They recommend a foam cradle to put the locomotive in while you work on it. Keeps the sides and everything else protected, and everything in one place. So let's get started. Well, the instructions say that you need to take only 2 screws out to get the cab cover off of the body, and those are where the couplers are. So all you gotta do is take those out. I believe I'm also going to have to take out these 2 screws to put in the speaker. So we're going to start with just taking off the cab based on that. There we go. Okay, one other tool that I'm going to use is a tweezers. Get this screw out. Lift the screw out, set that aside. Just slide the coupler out. I'm just going to put the screw back into the coupler box, set those off to the side so I don't lose them. Once those are done, I can carefully slide each coupler box out of its mounting position, which I did. Once the screws and coupler boxes are removed, the body shell can now be removed from the mechanism. There are no wires or other connections between the body and chassis, so gently lifting up on the body, paying attention to the many details, should allow the body to be easily removed from the chassis. At this point, maintenance can be performed. Here we go. That the DCC chip and device I have to put in is plugged right into there, so I'm going to have to get this all off to get this out. Oh, maybe not. I just have to drop it down. Just kind of pop it out, and out comes, goes right in there. When I pulled this off, I was a little confused as to where I was supposed to wire in the speakers at. So I pulled out my other -9 with sound installed so I could figure out where it was supposed to go, because the instructions really did not tell you anything about where you're supposed to put them. They give you information on where on the plug side of it where things were supposed to be wired, but it didn't give me actual instructions for this kind of board. That's where they go, right here next to this screw. And then they also, what they did was, when they put in the next 18 connector, they have a piece of foam in here to kind of squeeze up against the connector, and they also taped it around the board to keep it in place. Something I probably didn't know that I was going to need to do, but it might be helpful if you are having problems with connectivity to the locomotive and having it run. It may be because things got a little loose. So I'm going to use that as an example and go from there. Luckily I've got these extra screwdrivers. So the speaker case comes up and hits these trucks so it doesn't come out. You have to do a little twisting. Ah, there we go. Turn the wheels to the side and this will come right out. So there you go. Set that aside. Here you have a little indentation just already made for the speaker to go in. Okay, as you can see, the inside of this speaker compartment, there is a hole right there. That's where you're supposed to feed your speaker wires through to go up alongside the motor. The first time I forgot to do that, and I just put it in there. I was getting a little ahead of myself. There we go. Goes right in there. Stick it down in there where it's supposed to go. Okay, I'm going to solder on the black lead onto this one right here, and the orange one on the other one over there. There's already solder right down here on the mounting pad, and these wires are already tinned, so it should just solder right on. Now we got to put in the next 18 pin decoder right here. Got to plug that in. Now at the factory they used a different kind of tape. It seemed a lot clearer. Not sure what they're using, but this, I guess, will work in a pinch. So let's go put it up on the test track and see if it works. Okay, let's see if this thing works. It looks like I have lights on for the number boards right up in here. Probably see that. Headlight. Ooh, headlight comes on, goes off. Whistle. Bell. Okay, let's see if the motor works. Step 4, got a little delay there. Reverse. Okay, looks like everything's working. Okay, to put the fuel tank back on, basically you just do it opposite. I'm just going to turn these off to the side so that the centers are down. These little bumps right here underneath the wheels, because I have to go above them anyway. Keep that turned down. There you go. Once you maneuver them in there, it should work. Now that it's in there, you just put the screws back in. That's okay. It seemed like it was stripped anyway, and so I'm just gonna leave that one screw in there and leave it alone. Okay, before you put the cab on, when you run your wires up into the speaker, from the speaker, there's a little notch right up here that you can feed your wires through the side of, and that'll kind of keep them in place when you put the cab back on, to help keep it from pinching the wires. Probably will put the orange one in first, because that seems to be right there, so these are not folding over the top of each other, you know. And then just kind of pull them down. A little bit tighter, and so I've got a little bit of tape on here, so it keeps the decoder in place and secure it in. But it kind of rubs a little bit on the inside of the cab. There we go. That went in pretty easily. Feed that back in. To slide it in there. Find the hole that it screws into, and goes all the way through into the body. Okay, it is back and ready to go. Initial tests worked, so now that the cab's back on, we're going to go upstairs and put on the layout and try it again. Okay, I've programmed the road number 9646 into the locomotive, and now we're just going to try some functions. Let's turn on the headlight again, and the headlight comes on. Let's do the horn. And bell. Ditch lights. Come on. And so let's try some movement. There we go, speed step 3, 4, 5, and so forth. And stop. And let's go in reverse. It is a little jerky there. A little dirty track. It sounds pretty good. Operates really nice. Needs a little bit of break-in time there because of a little bit of jerkiness at the low speed steps. But all in all, pretty good. Okay, there you go. Here's this install of the sound decoder in the ScaleTrains C44-9W, and it was a fairly easy install. Some of the tricks and things that I've learned were make sure you run the wires through the little hole underneath the gas tank so that it runs up alongside the body instead of outside and getting pinched on the cover when you try to put it on. Also, there's a little notch in there to run the wires as well, and taping down your decoder to the interface board on top will help ensure that it doesn't come loose over time, making you have to open the thing up and snap it back in place, or reseat it so it has a good connection again. All the sounds work, the motors were running right. It does need a little bit of a break-in period so it runs a little bit smoother at lower speed, but all in all they did a great job programming it, and it works. Some of the things that you do probably need to have to do this is, of course, a soldering iron, a good jeweler's screwdriver, Phillips head, a little bit of tape, tweezers, maybe even some good modeling glue if you break off a piece while you're working on it, like I kind of did. I broke off an air hose from one of the couplers on the other locomotive that I had, the test one. And having that extra test or the sample installed locomotive to compare for was the best thing, because I didn't know where I was going to solder those speaker wires to, and there really wasn't any explanation on the top of the board that really jumped out at me as, hey, this is where speakers are supposed to go. And so having that there really helped figure out where the wires are supposed to go and everything else. So, if you like what you saw here today, give me a thumbs up, ring that bell down below, leave a comment as well, tell me what you liked, and as always, ManCavians, subscribe if you've never been subscribed to this channel, and happy model railroading. Stay off those tracks. Bye.